Alright guys, we're going to get started on our next dish, and that is our guac. I'm going to go ahead and give this new thing a try. I have no idea how this is going to work, but we're going to try it out. We're going to go ahead and grab our bowl that our guac is going to be served in. We're just going to prep it all in there. So basically the way this tool is supposed to work is that you use this end of it to cut your avocado, this part to de-seed it, and then this part to scrape out and slice the avocado at the same time. Not sure how this is going to work, but we'll give it a try. Basically, the way you cut an avocado, the fastest way to do it is to cut it in the middle, all the way around, open the two parts, take the seed out, and then scoop out the inside. And I don't know how this is going to work. Okay. So far, it's not that bad. It's cutting through, okay. And then you twist, and that is a beautiful avocado. Then you're supposed to smack this part in here. I don't see this part working very well, honestly. Okay, I am surprised that worked actually really well, and it's pretty easy to get off. Okay, now for the moment of truth, you're supposed to scrape along the inside of the avocado and all the way through the other side. I don't know how that's going to work because the avocado is not the same shape all the way through, but wow, okay, I am impressed. It doesn't really work there at the end. You have to push it through maybe to get it all the way, and there's a little bit of avocado still left in there, but for the most part that didn't work too bad. I'm impressed. That wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. We'll do the other side, run the avocado through, and wow, that side worked a lot better. I guess if I practiced and used this all the time, it could be something that would be useful. Yeah, I'm impressed. It wasn't that bad. I'm not going to say that it sucked, but it wasn't necessarily my favorite thing ever. But it's okay. For what it was, for probably just a few bucks, it worked out pretty well. Alright guys, so next up, we're going to have to get this avocado here down to a more manageable size. Now, some people use a knife and they'll cut up the avocado inside of the actual skin and then push it out and mash it a little bit. My mom and dad always used to use a fork and just smash it up with a fork. I've got here a potato smasher, something you use to make mashed potatoes. You don't have to use one of these. I just do because I think it's even easier. And you just get in there and you smash up your avocado. This part is completely up to you. Some people like it really like just pureed, smashed avocado. Some people like to have a lot more chunks. It's really up to you, whatever you want to do. I like a little bit more chunks. I don't like it to be completely smashed up, so I will leave some chunks in there. Give it a good mix. We've got it all pretty much down to the size that I would like it to be at. And now we're going to add some salt, very important. You want to add a good amount of salt to your guac, because if not, you just need that flavor, that salty flavor. It'll bring out everything else. Some pepper and some chili flakes. That's it for seasoning. Next, you're going to want, of course, a little bit of tomato. You don't have to have some tomato, but I like tomato in my guac, so I'm going to use a little less than half. I'm going to give this a quick chop. I'm not going to be too precise. It's going to give just a new feeling to your guac. It's going to add a little bit more texture and of course some color, which is really awesome. Grab the other half of your lime if you're making both of these dishes along with me today, and squeeze about a teaspoon and a half of that lime juice into your guac. Give it a quick stir, and we are almost done with this guac. Okay guys, next we're going to add some onion. I've got a little baby onion here. I'm not going to use the whole thing because I don't have that much guac. I'm just going to take about half of this onion, trim it up here. That first layer of skin's kind of ugly. I'm going to get that off. All of that skin, the dry part here, I'm going to get that out of the way. And we're just going to give this a very rough chop, but it's going to be really nice and small. I don't want a lot of raw onion flavor inside of my guac. So I'm just gonna give this a nice fine chop. Now, altogether, that's probably about a tablespoon to 1.5 tablespoons of diced onion. It's not that much, but it looks good in the salsa. Also, you're gonna need some more of this cilantro. This is optional if you don't like the flavor of cilantro, but if you want that authentic Mexican flavor, you're gonna have to get used to it. Alright guys, that's basically it for your guac. You can test it now and see if it needs a little bit more salt. If it does, go ahead, just add a little bit at a time, pinch of salt, try it, and if it still needs a little bit more, go ahead and add a little bit more, and once you get it to where you like it, then obviously don't add any more salt because then it'll be too salty. That's basically it now for our guac. I went ahead and added some jalapeno to mine because I like mine to be a little bit spicy. But that's our basic guac. You can go ahead and serve this in a clean bowl if you want so it's not all nasty, but it really doesn't matter. It's gonna get eaten so fast, no one's even gonna care. So now moving on to our final guac, we are going to do a more traditional Mexican guac sauce, and that is going to be in our blender. If you have an avocado like this and there's some gray, you can just cut that out. You don't need to eat that part. You can if you want, it's not gonna hurt you, but it's not gonna taste as good as the rest of it. So we're going to get our tool here and scrape out the avocado, and we're gonna add it straight to our blender cup here. So we got our avocado in there. Awesome. We're gonna add a little bit of onion. So I've got the rest of this really small onion that I've got. It's really tiny. It's about maybe a tablespoon of onion after you chop it up. I'm just going to go ahead and give it a quick chop just to help the blender out a little bit. You put it in a bit smaller pieces. Blender won't have to work as hard. It's not such a nice high quality blender, it's more for smoothies, so I'm gonna do what I can. I'm going to add another half of a lime, so I'm going to squeeze out the rest of this one. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut up another lime. I'm going to go ahead and squeeze another about half of a lime into this guac. Of course, we got to season it with some salt, a little bit of pepper, a little bit of chili flake, and I'm going to go ahead and add the other half of my jalapeno that I didn't add to the first guac. Again, if you want this to be spicier, you can add more jalapeno. You could go ahead and keep the seeds. Whatever you guys want, it's up to you. And then something to keep this a little more fresh and to keep it a little bit more of that liquidy, not so chunky like the other, is we're gonna add some sour cream to this. And this is about 2 tablespoons of sour cream. It's not a lot, but it's gonna help to give it a little bit more of a rich flavor. And it's also gonna keep it nice and liquidy for us, if liquidy is a word. All right, so we got all of our stuff in there. We're gonna get it down to the bottom, and we're going to pulse it a few times on our blender here. All right, guys, that's it. It should be in here nice and smooth. You can go ahead and check on it. Shouldn't be too runny. You don't want it to be like a salad dressing or something like that, but you should be able to pour it out, and it should be, yeah, perfect. It should be pretty smooth, pretty runny, not like a normal guac. You can go ahead and get all that out of there. If you want, you can give it another stir. You can season it a little bit more now. If you taste it and it's not salty enough, it needs to add some salt, go ahead, add a little bit of salt, add a little bit of pepper, add a little bit of whatever you need, and you're good to go. Now, for this, you can use this as a sauce. You know, if you're doing some nice fancy plating, you can put this into a sauce bottle and make some shapes on your plate. You can smear it on your plate and plate stuff on top of it. You can use it just as a dip. You can put it as a dip for some quesadillas, or you can put it on top of your tacos, whatever you want. It tastes great, and yeah, it's an easy sauce to make. I hope you guys learned something today with these 3 sauces. And before we move on, I just want to thank you guys for watching this video if you've made it this far. And for the last thing, I'm going to show you how to make fresh tortilla chips. Alright guys, we are back. I've got my oil here in this pot. It's heated up. And basically what we're going to be doing is making our own tortilla chips. We've got our guac sauces and our pico de gallo, but we need something to eat them with. And so we're going to make our own chips. This is something my dad taught me to do when I was pretty young. We were always buying, Doritos and things like that at the store, and he's like, why don't we just make our own chips? I never knew you could do that, and he's like, yeah, it's really easy, and he taught me how. Basically, you need hot oil and some corn tortillas. You can do this with flour tortillas, but you're not going to have, that's not going to taste as good, so you're really going to need some corn tortillas. Just go to your local grocery store and pick up some corn tortillas, whatever brand you like, it doesn't really matter, and cut them into triangles, into chip shapes. And basically what you do, you take them, you put them in your oil. If your oil is way too hot, you're going to burn the chips very quickly, so make sure that your oil isn't too hot. When you dunk your chips in, it should bubble, but it shouldn't go crazy. Once the oil is hot enough, it's in there, it's not exploding, then go ahead and just add your chips. And you add them one at a time so they don't stick together. Make sure they're not cold, so if you keep your tortillas in the fridge, pull them out of the fridge and let them come to room temperature. That way they don't stick together once they go inside the oil and you don't have any unnecessary moisture. That's just going to cause problems when it hits hot oil. So yeah, you just dump maybe 15, 20, 25 chips, depending on how big your pot is. You can do this in a shallow skillet too if you'd like, to save a little bit of room. And just make sure that your chips are cooking evenly. Just let them stay in there and start cooking. Now, my tortillas that I get here in Germany are very thin. They're not that great yet. Corn tortillas are very new to Germany. Before, I had to always import them with friends or when I traveled to America, and I always brought back like 100, 150 tortillas. I threw them in the freezer and I was able to make tacos throughout the rest of the year. But the tortillas are finally coming here, corn tortillas, and they're really thin and they're not that great yet. But for chips, they're perfect. They cook very quickly. Just like that, we're already done with our first batch. So take your slotted spoon, pull them out, get as much oil off as you can, because we want to be kind of healthy if we're deep frying. Get that oil off, and you also want to save it for the rest of your chips. So drain them a little bit, and then straight onto a plate or into a bowl with some newspaper or some paper towels, whatever you got, just so that you can drain off the rest of that excess oil. You don't need really oily chips. That's not that great. So once you got them out, give them a little bit of salt. Do that while they're hot so that the salt will stick to them a bit better. And then just repeat this process and keep adding to your pile of gold here. Now you can make these as crispy as you want. I know when I make them, I don't make them too done. I don't want them to be rubbery and chewy. That's not what I like. But I don't like them to be burnt. So once you get them to exactly how you like them, go ahead and take them out. And yeah, enjoy your fresh homemade tortilla chips. So guys, we are finished up. All of our chips are done. They're nice and crispy, just the way chips should be. They're perfectly seasoned. If you want to make them, season them a different way, you can. My buddy always puts garlic on his. That's perfectly fine. Some people like to put pepper, some like salt, some like other things. Whatever you want, go ahead and flavor your chips the way that you want them. I prefer just normal salt on mine because I'm going to get that flavor from the dip that I'm going to be dipping them in. And so we're going to plate these up. If you guys want, you can just put the bowl of chips out, put the bowls of dip out, and just leave it as that. Perfectly fine. That's actually the way that I would normally do it. But we're going to plate this up for you guys a little bit nicer today. If you checked out my Instagram, I really like to mess around with plating techniques, with sauce, with different portions, and just trying to get a nice plate put together. So if you checked out my Instagram, you've kind of seen maybe a little bit of how I've experimented with some plating ideas, with techniques and things like that. I love learning. I didn't actually learn that when I was in culinary school. And so I've just been watching some YouTube videos, looking at pictures on Instagram and trying to figure it out on my own. And it's a lot of fun. So today I'm gonna plate this for you guys in a little bit more nicer style. Usually you just, throw them out there on the table and you're good to go. But so I got this plate here, just a normal square plate, and I've got 3 of these little dishes that are meant for sauce. And usually these 3 dishes sit on a little platter. But I decided to put these on the plate for today just to give this a little bit of a different element. I'm going to take my sauces, my more liquidy guac sauce, and I'm going to pile that up basically full because you want to be able to see the sauce. There we go. My chunky guac, put that in there. Awesome. And of course our pico de gallo. We gotta have some of that. Pile that up. And of course, when you're plating, you might end up like this and spill something. Just go ahead and pick it up, get it out of the way. If you have a towel, you can wipe it down. Because we're gonna put chips there, it's not that big a deal. You can just leave it the way that it is. Perfect. We have our 3 dips, and now we're gonna add some chips to this. And we're just gonna go ahead and add them on this side. So yeah, there you have it. Our chips and dip. A little bit more of a modern style plating. You could even add some fresh cilantro to this and give it a little bit more of an element. You could drizzle some sauce on the plate before you put the chips down if you wanted to give it a different look. You could rearrange these cups so that they're straight with chips on both sides or just on one side if you use a bigger plate. There are endless opportunities to plating. It's just using your imagination, and your plate becomes your canvas, and you just, you paint a picture with your food, and this is what we have for today. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something. These things are really, really easy to make. It's not difficult. It's just knowing a little bit how to do it, practicing, tasting, and just seeing what it is you like and what it is other people like, and just developing those flavors. I hope you guys liked it. Again, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Give this video a thumbs up. Any questions you have or any tips you'd like to know, just go ahead and leave them in the comments below. Until next time, peace.